The role of assistant medical officers, AMO, is very important, including their active involvement in COVID-19 screening, treatment and control during the pandemic to ensure that people in the country receive the best health services. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the role of the AMO in the pre-hospital services and ambulances are crucial in the delivery of the best health services to the community. According to the Health DG, the Assistant Medical Officer Service Branch is also training Secretariat for the Ministry of Health, MOH, to train members of the Emergency Medical Rescue Services of the Fire and Rescue Department. He said this in a Facebook post in conjunction with Assistant Medical Officers Day today. According to Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham, Assistant Medical Officers Day is observed on 10th of March every year to appreciate all Assistant Medical Officers for their contribution in various health sectors in Malaysia. He said the theme, Together in Fighting Pandemic for Keluarga Malaysia's Well-Being, reflected the commitment of the AMO in providing comprehensive, professional and dedicated health services to ensure the well-being of the people. He also hoped that the plans lined up by the MOH for the future would also be able to further enhance the ability of the AMO to contribute their ideas, energy, skills and expertise for the betterment of all. Malaysia and Indonesia will sign a Memorandum of Understanding MOU on 17 March for the recruitment of foreign workers from Indonesia. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said the MOU would be signed by both parties to allow the entry of domestic workers from Indonesia into Malaysia. According to Datuk Sri Saravanan, issues pertaining to minimum wage, scope of employment, as well as the use of valid system have been discussed, and both parties have reached an agreement on several issues. He also revealed that his ministry had received 200,000 applications for recruitment of workers from Bangladesh, and now in the process of screening. He said the workers will be allowed for all sectors once the process is completed.
Kebetulannya Bangladesh dah boleh masuk dah. Bangladesh dah boleh masuk. Mereka dah mula pendaftaran. Setakat ni 200,000 permohonan telah pun diterima oleh Kementerian Sumber Manusia dan kita sedang menapis.
In another development, Datuk Sri Saravanan said his ministry viewed seriously issues on forced labour and expressed his determination to address the problem immediately. He said this includes ratifying the 2014 Protocol to the International Labour Organization ILO Convention on Forced Labour 1930 and complying with the 11 guidelines outlined by the ILO in the convention, including providing workers with a conducive living environment. Checks on admission offers to special schools for the 2022 Form 1, Form 4 and Year 1 of the Malaysian Vocational Certificate SVM intake can be made starting next Tuesday. Senior Education Minister Datuk Dr. Rasmi said the special schools are fully residential schools SBP, Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Agama SMKA, Sekolah Menengah Teknik SMT, Vocational Colleges KV and the Royal Military College RMC under the Defence Ministry. In a statement, the senior minister said checks on the application can be done by visiting the portal shown on your screen. According to Dr. Radzi, the online registration for new Form 1 and Form 4 students at SBP and SMKA is set from 21st to 25th March. Meanwhile, the physical registration for new Form 4 students at SBP and SMKA is scheduled to be held on 5th April, while for Form 1 students, the dates will be announced later. In addition, he said the physical registration for new Form 4 and Year 1 SVM students at SMT and KV is on 7 April, while the registration date for Form 4 students at the RMC will be announced via the institution web portal. The Ministry of Communications and Multimedia (KKMM) through the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission (MCMC) will build more cellular base stations in an effort to help the people in Johor, especially in Kota Tinggi. Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the move, which was in line with Prime Minister Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's commitment and directive, was aimed at improving the living standards of the people through online business. Apart from that, Tan Sri Anwar said telecommunication service providers were also instructed to improve their services. Apart from building new telecommunication structures, upgrading existing base stations, improving fibre optic network connectivity and having more Keluarga Malaysia Digital Economy Centres, PERDI. He said the existing 6 PERDI facilities in Kota Tinggi also provided added value and convenience to the locals in carrying out their daily affairs. According to him, as of the fourth quarter of last year, the 4G coverage in Johor was at 98.68%, and the figure is targeted to increase to 99.14% by the end of this year. As for broadband speeds, he said as of the fourth quarter of 2021, it was 28.15 megabits per second and is targeted to increase to 35 megabits per second. The government will introduce a new, more holistic and comprehensive approach to address the issue of the hardcore poor by the end of April, including in Sabah. According to Minister and the Prime Minister's Department, Economy, Dato' Sri Mustafa Mohamad, the government is highly committed to resolving the issue with the new approach to take into account all inputs from local leaders as well as the local community. Dato' Sri Mustafa said 80 localities nationwide would be selected for the early stage of the implementation of the new approach. He said the Economic Planning Unit and Implementation and Coordination Unit have started the process by conducting engagement sessions with all state governments. There were also specific efforts to strengthen socio-economic development in Sabah and Sarawak, as outlined in the 12th Malaysia Plan.
Buat pertama kali satu bab khusus untuk memperkukuh pembangunan di Sabah dan Sarawak telah dirangka dalam RMK 12. Antara lain strategi utama adalah memantapkan penyediaan infrastruktur, menambah baik akses kepada perkhidmatan sosial dan memperkukuh pembangunan inklusif.
The government has also set up the Socio-Economic Working Committee to discuss in detail and resolve issues and problems facing Sabah and Sarawak pertaining to socio-economic development. The daily passenger quota under the Vaccinated Travel Lane VTL by Land Initiative to Singapore will be increased from 2,160 people to 3,420 starting Monday. Transport Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Wee Ka Siong said this would allow even more fully vaccinated people to travel across the causeway without being subject to quarantine and other related requirements. Explaining further in a statement, he said the announcement follows the previous statement by the ministry on 16 February to increase the capacity from 50% to 100%. He noted that the sale of bus tickets for the additional daily quota will begin tomorrow for travel from Monday onwards. Passengers will still be subject to existing VTL land travel requirements, including the pre-departure tests and on-arrival tests. Malaysia will transition to endemic phase on 1st April with more relaxed restrictions, including border reopening for international travellers. However, Dato' Sri Dr. Wee said the VTL land agreement with Singapore remain in effect as a bilateral agreement between both governments to continue to ensure safety for land travellers to and from the causeway. He said the arrangement is being jointly reviewed by the respective authorities of both countries ahead of any future announcements. In a related development, the Standard Operating Procedures (SOPs) specifically for Malaysians that commute to Singapore to work is expected to be finalised next week. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said his ministry is currently examining several details as well as holding discussions with the Singaporean authorities.
Saya nak maklumkan bahawa pembukaan sempadan darat dengan Singapura ni dia mesti dapat persetujuan bersama Singapura dan Malaysia. Kalau kita buka sempadan sendiri tak guna sebab dia kena buka sempadan dia juga. Dan pihak Singapura belum lagi sedia untuk buka sempadan darat. Malah pada 1 hari bulan April ni saya masih lagi sedang berunding dengan pihak Singapura.
Meanwhile, Khairy denied allegations that the government is purposely delaying the reopening of the border to avoid voters that are working in Singapore from returning and casting their ballot in the upcoming Johor state election. He said the matter should not be politicized and everyone should see the government's decisions and efforts from the bigger perspectives. Next, chicken supply chain in turmoil. Not true. Stay with us. The Agriculture and Food Industries Ministry, MAFI, has denied an article published by a news portal alleging that the chicken supply chain in the country is in a state of turmoil. In a statement, MAFI said the article was not supported by accurate information and could create a negative perception of the government's efforts to address the issues of chicken supply shortage and price increase. According to the ministry, the government is actively carrying out various efforts and initiatives to ensure that the poultry industry continues to remain competitive and guarantee the country's food security. The ministry also said that following the sharp increase in chicken and egg consumption, especially in the commercial sector, after the movement control order was lifted, the government had given permission to 36 companies, including supermarkets, to import whole chicken. It said this discussion is to ensure that the country's chicken supply is adequate and stable, and it can only be implemented until May 2022. The government also offered easy financing schemes with low interest rates to industry players and subsidies to poultry farmers to reduce the impact of rising costs of production inputs, such as animal feed. Now, the chemical department is conducting analysis on samples of frozen squid rings that were accused by some social media users of being made from pork intestine or rectum. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said he is currently waiting on the results of the analysis.
Bagi kami KPDCP, kami buat siasatan dan isu-isu yang berkaitan sama ada Allah Ta'ala itu di bawah JAKIM. Saya pun difahamkan Jabatan Kimia sedang membuat ujian untuk memastikan.
The minister said this after officiating Lotus supermarket rebranding ceremony in Ampang, Selangor today. Last week, a social media went viral alleging that the frozen squid rings sold by a company were actually pork intestines. However, the company's Shenhua Resources yesterday held a press conference together with its halal certification agents and said that the social media post was fake news, adding that a police report was lodged. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Semasa Yaakob today held a meeting with a delegation that is championing efforts to enhance the status of Bahasa Melayu. The 30-minute meeting at Parliament Building was attended by Senate President Tan Sri Dr. Rais Yatim, Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka Chairman Datuk Sri Professor Dr. Awang Sarian, and Federation of National Writers Association of Malaysia Chief Datuk Zainal Abidin Borhan. According to Tan Sri Dr. Rais, among the matters discussed during the meeting was the usage of Bahasa Melayu at official functions overseas.
Misalnya sekiranya orang Vietnam atau Perdana Menterinya datang kemari dalam bahasa Vietnam, maka Perdana Menteri kita harus juga berbahasa Melayu dan berulang dengan keadaan diplomasi antarabangsa. Memerlukan interpretasi dan sebagainya. Cara ini akan melonjakkan bahasa Melayu sebagai bahasa negara yang bertaraf nasional dan antarabangsa.
Tan Sri Dr. Ryan said it was also suggested that radio announcers and television hosts be given training to ensure they could speak Bahasa Melayu eloquently. The Prime Minister said last month that Malaysia would use Bahasa Melayu in all official events it is involved in, including at meetings and conferences overseas, as part of efforts to uplift the status of the national language. Matters pertaining to Census 2020 and amendments to Article 119 of the Federal Constitution are among the issues discussed during the 258th meeting of the Conference of Rulers at Istana Negara. The keeper of the ruler's seal, Tan Sri Syed Daniel Syed Ahmad, said other matters also discussed included the appointments of judges for the higher courts, as well as chairmen and members of the Public Service Commission. Tan Sri Syed Daniel said at the meeting the rulers were also briefed on the latest update with regard to security by Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani and National Defence by Army Chief General Tan Sri Zamros Muhammad Zain. He added prior to the meeting, the rulers were also given a briefing by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on the government's views and stand on several matters that touched on the latest national affairs. The two-day meeting, which started yesterday, was chaired by the Sultan of Terengganu, Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin. The last meeting of the Conference of Rulers was held on 24th and 25th November last year and was chaired by the Sultan of Kedah, Al-Aminul Karim Sultan Salahuddin Sultan Badli Shah. The Kuala Lumpur High Court today set 8th of April to hear an application by former Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi to obtain recorded statements of 18 witnesses from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) in the case involving Yayasan Akal Budi funds. His lawyer Hamidi Muhammad Noh informed this to reporters when met after the case management before Judge Datuk Colin Lawrence Sequeira. Hamidi said the application was filed last 18 February following an offer by the prosecution. He said the court also ordered the applicant to file the submissions before or on 30th of March. On 24th January this year, the court ordered Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid to defend himself on 47 charges of breach of trust, CBT, corruption and money laundering involving Akal Budi Foundation funds, after finding that the prosecution had succeeded in proving a prima facie case. The court has set 39 days to hear the defence's case. The Bagan Datuk Member of Parliament, who served as the Deputy Prime Minister from 2015 to 2018, opted to testify under oath from the witness stand, with the prosecution given the opportunity to question the accused during cross-examination. Hopes of national artistic gymnastics queen Farah Ann Abdul Hadi featuring in the Hanoi SEA Games in Vietnam from 12 to 23rd May are fading fast. In fact, even Malaysian Gymnastics Federation MGF Secretary Afrita Ariani Nasril has hinted that the 2019 SEA Games gold medalist may not be featured in the biennial games this time. However, Afrita has not completely closed the door on her, saying Farah Ann could still participate in the SEA Games at the 11th hour should she clarify her current status with the national squad by Saturday, which is the closing date for registration with the Games organisers.
Yes, it's all on her now with her body condition and all, and it's all on her whether she can do it still or not. So we respect that decision, and we are still giving her time lah.
It is believed that the MGF had submitted their final lists of the gymnasts for the SEA Games to the Olympic Council of Malaysia (OCM) recently, with OCM President Tan Sri Muhammad Norza Zakaria telling a press conference that Farah Ann's participation in Vietnam would only be known by Saturday, as they are still awaiting a decision from MGF. The Selangor-born gymnast's future with the national squad remains in doubt after she reportedly missed training for 3 weeks and is said to be considering calling it a day. On 1st of March, Afrita had said that Farah Ann was contemplating retirement due to age and injuries, before adding that the MGF were open to discussion if she needed help. Now in football, foreign imports Bergson da Silva and Fernando Martin Forestieri scored a brace each to inspire reigning Super League champions Johor Darul Tazim JDT to a resounding 6-0 thrashing of Sarawak United at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium in Iskandar Putri. JDT got off to a sizzling start when Argentine Forestieri, after receiving a pass from midfielder Muhammad Nazmi Faiz Mansour, coolly slotted home with a stiff grounder in the 15th minute. Bergson then made it 2-0 for Benjamin Mora's Southern Tigers with a powerful volley after receiving a pass from winger Arif Aiman Muhammad Hanapi in the 39th minute. When Sarawak defender Raja Imran Shah Raja Amin was sent off for fouling Muhammad Safavi Rashid in the 60th minute, the floodgates opened up, with Bergson notching his second and JDT's third of the night 2 minutes later. The Southern Tigers, sensing blood, upped the ante and scored 3 more goals through defender Khalid Murga 71st minute, Muhammad Safawi 80th and Forestieri 84th to sink the Crocs and make it 2 wins out of 2 to sit atop the standings with 6 points.
We were finding some space behind the center midfielders, and we were having a good approximations to the box. 2-3 with Corbin on this left side, and then 2-3 shooting. And Fernando and Bergson scored 2 beautiful goals in the beginning.
Wrapping up the news at 10, a reminder of our top story. Assistant Medical Officer roles crucial for best health services. Join us for more updates tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Until then, it's lights out. I'm Brendan Paul. Stay tuned to Berita RTM and have a good night. Keluarga Malaysia.